Hi, I'm dating coach Hayley Quinn.
I'm dating coach James Marshall.
Oh, and today we're going to be talking about why women have to reject men. Yes, it's a catchy title. Yes, you might feel that women are cruel and unnecessary taskmasters in the area of dating, and they are just set out to reject guys. To help me deconstruct this and really explain the reasons why women not only reject men, but why they kind of have to, I've been joined here by James.
As a man, I'm obviously the most qualified to talk about why women reject men. I have watched thousands of times, and I'm sure you have too, this weird thing we have as dating coaches is you watch boy meet girl thousands of times whilst creepily listening in with a microphone and hiding in a corner. As a result, we've basically seen every single thing that can and most likely to happen during these instances. Most of the time, women are going to be like on the probably I shouldn't talk to this guy, but maybe I'll see what's going on. So that's where we're going to mainly exist. To look at the why would she reject me if I did the things right and I'm presentable and she's single? Why would a woman reject me? And I think we need to look at it to really understand the world of a beautiful woman. You should talk to someone and ask them what this is like. If you're attractive and you've been going out to clubs since you were a bit before you should have, as a woman, you've been hanging around with men who are much older, more sophisticated, depending on what girl she is and what scene. She's been maneuvering into all sorts of dynamics where there's complex social interplay of hierarchies and jealousies and Machiavellian strategies going on that she's learning really young. And so the reality is that often when we come into this and you're approaching a girl in her 20s, she's a veteran. You know, she could have had 10 years under her belt of dealing with men, with sex, with the social sphere when you're just coming and starting to play. Often women are pretty accurate in their reads. They know that if a guy comes up and starts talking too much or stands too close, a woman who is like a high-level social player, she can just tell from reading the cadence, the delivery, the question choices, okay, that guy hasn't hung out with girls like me before. And so women are very, very quickly registering and going, even if you're a nice guy and an interesting person or whatever, in a split second she's like, wouldn't be able to keep up with me, can't handle me, can't fit in my social world, therefore I can't justify talking to this guy, so why waste our time?
Mm-hmm. And also, if you have to think, I always think that also for women, time is this massive social pressure within the dating space. Because what do we hear? You just said at the start, women from their teens to their 20s, women always are faced with this tick-tock of fear hanging over, crossing the 30 barrier or getting more mature than that. But actually, by the way, to the women out there, isn't true. You can still have freaking loads of dates when you are in your 30s, 40s and beyond. So don't let that social stigma get in your way from having fun. But it still exists. When I was at the height of my dating coach stuff, I was probably in my mid-late 20s, having a great time. I was thinking, God, if I was a guy, no one would be questioning this. And already it started that kind of so you're going to meet someone yet? Time is, time is running out. You get this constant questioning of oh, but you're so attractive, why are you single? Mm-hmm. It's like that your single status becomes more and more ripe for scrutiny as you age. And so whether it's actually in reality in a highly populated city like London or New York true that dating is going to get harder as you get older, you feel suddenly under a little bit of pressure to make choice. Therefore, that time limitation you face, not only does, I think, a woman at the height of her dating prime with most options, not only does she have freaking loads of social commitments, she's probably relatively career orientated, trying to build out stuff for herself. She probably is part of that culture where it's okay for her to cancel on something if something better comes along. You add to all that then actually this burden of expectation that, if I do go on a date with someone, I better feel an amazing, strong connection, that they're really on my level and a really amazing spark. Or if I'm at that stage in my life, I've got to be pretty convinced this person could be the one, not that the one exists, before I want to invest my valuable time resources in it.
We have to recognize that, firstly, it's not personal. It's not your fault, except when it is. And when it is, you need to know that. So that's where you need to get a dating coach. If there's something you're doing which is totally deal breaking, then that needs to be addressed. But very, very commonly, once a guy is decent at meeting women and decent at the going through the process, your flake rates still are astronomically high. Mine are still to this day. They're never going to get better than maybe 30%. return, like 30% of girls on a date, like that's really high.
And there's also the same stats are in the same world for online dating as well. One of the biggest online dating companies in the world said that the absolute studs who are crushing it at online dating, they at best get a 40% response rate, whilst most guys are more like 10%.
Yeah. And that's like, okay, that sucks in a way, but also that's not awful odds. It just means that you are going to need to put in more time.
But on the other side for her, you know, where you're thinking, well, she's got this easier. I don't think it's that easy. Imagine if you have this limited quantity of time, and guess what? If it's like, if you don't exit the dance floor with a partner within a certain amount of time, you suddenly feel like concerned about age or losing your looks or tremendous amounts of social pressure. So you can see the clock like ticking down, even if I don't think the clock exists. You can see that clock ticking down. You only have a limited amount of time to choose these partners in. You want to choose partners that you're probably going to have, if you're going to invest your time in it, and you're not just purely looking for hookups. You want to have people that you're going to have a substantial relationship in. And it sucks when you're a woman and you select a guy who actually isn't that great for you and you've got some lessons to learn, and then you're spat back out onto the single scene. You know, a few years down the line, you've maybe lost some of those social connections, you're a little bit older. You've also had that negative experience, which maybe means you're more closed off to dating. So a woman's ability to select wisely is really important for her dating and her social success.
Women absolutely categorize men into all sorts of functions, and it's important as a man to recognize which ones do you fulfill. And unfortunately, like often it's like I fulfill the role of friend, or like guy that, you know, tries and then she has to like fob him off. Or a lot of guys only fit the boyfriend role, right? So it's like everything that they project says to the girl, okay, I would be a reliable boyfriend, for example. Whichever one of those there are, each woman is very often open to multiple different types of men coming in and playing certain roles in her life. And it is important to recognize that, what am I sub-communicating about what roles I can play? Because if to her she's cool and she's open and she has kind of a multiple relationship lifestyle, right? So she dates a bunch of different people. If I come in and present to her I am a boyfriend type, I will be deleted, because for her that isn't appropriate, and she knows a boyfriend type that goes after me is going to get really clingy, right? Because I don't want that kind of thing. It's going to get emotionally entangled, and I'm going to have a crying man on my doorstep, and I've dealt with that before, and I'll get rid of him. Or vice versa. You know, you may have a girl who is really relationship orientated right now, keeping in mind that there's not like one type of girl. It's throughout a woman's dating life, she'll go through many things. She might have a hookup period, she might be with a boyfriend, she might have a lesbian period, she might have a done with men for now. You know, so depending on where she is in her like relationship cycle, you need to be aware of like what possible archetypal roles can I play. And the ideal thing is to be able to be adaptable, right? Now, if you don't want to be a girl's boyfriend, don't pretend to do that. But if you're able to like project different aspects of what you could present to the woman, and you're not super clingy and needy, so you could have something casual at the same time as you're maybe open to something developing if it works well with the person, then you're going to have a lot more options.
So, to recap, you have to remember that whilst your criteria for meeting her might be you might be physically attracted to her.
But she was really hot.
She was really hot. She was just really hot. Okay, Hayley. I understand. That's just biology. We're not here to argue with that. You might think that an aspect of her personality is cool, and to be real here, right now, though this can absolutely change for you, you might not be meeting the abundance of women that you possibly can do. And so when you meet this one woman, suddenly, I say it's like she's got a golden ticket or something. She comes in right at spot number one within your life and within your intentions. Now, sometimes because you feel so much towards her and because you have that desire, that can lead you for there to be this real asymmetry in the attraction process. Like, no doubt, men's attraction starts up here and a woman's is usually further down there, and then hopefully at some point they convalesce. A lot of the time though, as James said before, she might be super busy with a really active social circle. She might be somewhat preoccupied by what cool parties she gets to be invited to where she can meet cool and very well qualified guys. And so therefore she feels this intense need to filter through the male attention that she's been receiving now for years and years and years. She has got a highly trained social skills, which means if there's something that's a little bit off or uncalibrated, or she just feels intuitively like you're not on her level or might not be able to keep up with her, she's more likely to give a default no response to you. Also, women experience a lot of social pressure around time and aging in the area of dating relationships. She only has a very, very limited amount of time probably dedicated to this area of her life. Because of that, she feels under a lot of pressure to choose correctly. And the only relationships that really seem worthwhile her exploring are relationships where right from the get-go she's like, wow, this guy is really appealing to me as an exciting romantic lover, or wow, I can really see myself being with this guy long term. Sometimes if it kind of doesn't hit either of those notes really strongly, even if the interaction was like perfectly nice and perfectly good, if she's not in a more mature relationship forming phase in her life, her desire to give things a go just isn't there, because she still might be waiting for those more perfect seeming opportunities, and those are the ones she's going to try to capitalize on and invest her time in. So
There you go. Simple lesson. Never approach any girls, because what's the point? Because they've already got way cooler guys than you in your life, right? There is the flip side of this though. I had a friend who is a proper catwalk model. She was telling me she lives in New York, and she came to London for a 3-month modeling contract. And she didn't know anyone. She was staying in a model house, and she was doing her shooting in the day, and then she had time off. And she said she wandered around London for those 3 months, and not one man ever talked to her. Mm-hmm. Not one. Because every guy that walked down the street looked at her and went, no fucking way, she's already like married to a billionaire, and
his Lamborghini's parked around the corner.
Yeah, and I don't stand a chance. On the one hand, you never know, right? So it's like there'll be girls that you're like, she just looks like totally not my type, or she wouldn't be into me, and then you start, and then something happens that wasn't expected.
And also, women do also generally reach an inflection point where they're like, actually, maybe I don't want to go to all the parties that have ever existed ever. Mm-hmm. So what seemed like cool and alluring to her at one point in time will inevitably lose its, she'll reprioritize. She'll be like, you know what, this is the time where I'm going to get really sorted in my life.
I'm just thinking of women there who I've heard these lines, no more musicians.
But it's true. You go like, actually, you know what? I've like had those experiences. Like I'm, and it could be like, I am actually up to here in those experiences. I'm done with that. So when women reach those inflection points, and they actually might, because remember, 50% of this equation isn't actually how awesome your game is and your ability to approach. It's actually how open and willing and able she is to receive that information for you and connect in that way. And whilst you might not get a woman in that stage in her general life cycle, women do mature out of party scenes. Women take breaks from party scenes. Women decide there's more important things in their life. Women actually reflect on their own dating behaviors and start to wonder, maybe I lost out on a few really good guys there. Maybe I was too dismissive in the past. So just because one particular kind of woman has behaved towards you in a certain way, it doesn't mean that every woman is going to be that way. And actually the best way that you can start to think about improving how many women you connect with as opposed to reject you is to remember that she is only getting that initial snapshot impression of you. She's not like read your autobiography or knows all the cool stuff that you do. So you may want to consider, like James was saying earlier, is that snapshot impression of me, is it accurate? Am I communicating the right vibe? Are my communication skills and body language and style good enough that I'm communicating to her that I'm a man that she could have in her life?
One other thing to look at is, as a man, we have some advantages, obviously, but one advantage we have is that we have time to figure this out. The reality is, the hotter people are, those women are most high in demand, which means they have most opportunities, which means they already have guys on the go. So remember, you are always on somewhere on the ladder of priorities. And if you're a random guy in the street and you came and you approached and you did it well, for that moment, you might be at the top for that 5 minutes, and then you walk away and you could drop to the bottom because that guy that she's already been on a date with, or who's cool and has seen text her, and you just vanish. You need to understand that there are like bigger picture things at play in terms of the sexual marketplace. And it's kind of a bizarre thing that a woman who's like 19, who's like basically shown up, like that it takes a guy decades to figure out how to deal with
also I'd add to that women play their own game with that, but they just do it differently. So their thing might not be running up and approaching guys, unfortunately for the guys out there in the world. But as you said, those complex social dynamics of thinking, who am I friends with? What parties can I get invited to? Can I go into that members club?
How do I make that guy jealous by doing this?
Am I, how many followers do I have on Instagram? There are many doors that are also unlocked for women, which they accrue over time. So whilst she might not be facing up to rejection in the same way, she often feels that if she can't get access to those social circles, or she will just feel like, I don't know where the good quality guys are. Because every other guy that approaches her in a more randomized way, she will just dismiss as being not someone who can keep up with me, and instead she'll be looking and thinking about how she can crack into that next social circle where she's going to get the highly qualified guys that she wants to meet.
So I think the answer for a man is to try to approach it from both ends. So it's like, just cold approach is, in my opinion, is not the end of this thing. Like, I mean, it can be. Like, it's a skill that you learn it. If you can bring women into your life, cool, it serves its function. However, the highest level players that I know, they are absolutely very good at cold approach. They can and do it, but they're using leverage as well, right? So they're positioning themselves in cool scenes. They're surrounding themselves with women, with wing girls. Nothing works better than pre-selection. It's because it's so wired into women to see, okay, hang on, he's with those two girls, he's obviously got something going for him aside from this guy who's just by himself, so I'm automatically interested in finding out what's going on with this guy. So you can make life easier on yourself over time by building or joining interesting and high-value social circles, by being social in general, by putting yourself in lots of different social scenarios where women get to see you doing something, right? Because women don't tend to be attracted to men in action, whereas men are attracted to women on site or not. If you can position yourselves in any kind of scene where women get to see you do anything, like these are things that she does register and that they become very attractive. So in my opinion, to differentiate yourself, knowing, okay, shit, we're up against all of mankind. Firstly, we can take solace in the fact that sometimes girls are just gonna like you because they just randomly do. Awesome, we're only gonna find that out by going and talking to lots. Most men will never cold approach. And thirdly, that as you improve in your skills, you can learn to differentiate yourself. And we have all sorts of strategies. The use of a pre-frame is exactly that. Pre-frames are designed to stop the woman's initial, like, you're a man, go away, to like, excuse me, I know I'm just a man who's here to talk to you and I can see you're looking at those shoes, but it's automatically, I'm already trying to show, I'm at least different from every other random guy that maybe badly approached you. When I go and speak to the girl, the woman has a read on us that is, man is solid. He's holding himself, carrying himself with grace, with confidence, in a way that suggests, okay, this guy's probably one of them. If you can then take that skill of like, I earned this on the street the hard way, which every good seducer I know did it that way, even though it's not always it's not the end game. It means that then they have supreme confidence that when they are at the cool event, that they can they don't have to like rely on their status to draw people in or whatever. They can go and still be social and warm approach. You let go of the emotional strings attached to your ego and to your pride and to this sense of wrongdoing by women, or like, it's almost like a poverty mindset to rich people. You know, it's like that, I resent the rich for their money, therefore I can never have any. So if I resent women because in the flower of her like youth and popularity, she's buried in attention, so what? That's okay, that's the reality. Is it fair? It doesn't really matter. If we look at overall, I don't think it's fair to women because we get the chance to spend years training and finally figuring this out. And then once the doors really open, it's like the world is yours. So you work on those from both ends and then you can be one of the guys that counts.
And I would also like to add to that, whilst if you want to be world most awesome player and hanging out with models on yachts in the Maldives, I think we were discussing this earlier, I would just maybe go and check out some of James's stuff. If you're thinking, actually, that sounds like a lot of intensity and work, remember, you don't also have to aspire to be the world's ultimate bachelor. I think it's cool for us all to have our own goals and own personal version of happiness. So if you're like, actually, Hayley, have a few great dating experiences, then meet an awesome girlfriend.
Hell yeah. That would be
You're in the
way
right
simpler.
place. Yeah.
That's very, very achievable.
Okay, so if you've liked this video and you want to actually hear more about meeting awesome girlfriend and what women are wanting, and also women, if you want to maybe become the kind of player that's hanging out in the Maldives, you're in the right place. Please subscribe and like this video. And if you want to become the male awesome player, access to all models in Maldives, which I have seen pictures of on your phone recently, where do they go? That's not all we do. We also do meditation and holistic change and models on the boat. thenaturallifestyles.com.
is where you can find out. My YouTube channel is The Natural Lifestyles, and you'll see my face popping up on Hayley's stuff and mine on hers, and yes, come check it out.
Okay, see you guys, bye.
Peace.